What if I told you that quirks aren't the beginning? That before heroes, before All Might, before UA High, there was another world, hidden, forgotten, erased. A world where children were taken for their powers, where abilities weren't called quirks, but Alice's. These two worlds, Alice Academy and My Hero Academia, aren't just similar. They're connected, genetically, thematically, spiritually. What if Deku is the reincarnation of a forgotten legacy? What if All For One isn't just a villain, but the rebirth of a powerful Alice user? What if every quirk is just the evolution of an Alice gene that survived extinction? The past was buried, but the bloodline never died. Welcome to Legacy Collision, Alice Academy, XUA High. Alice's were the origin, quirks are the future. This is Luck of All Trades, and today, we unlock a truth that's been hiding in plain sight.
Part 1. The Source of Power. Before quirks were celebrated, before the age of heroes and villain rankings, there was something else. Something far more raw, far more unstable, and far more forgotten. They called it the Alice gene. No one knows where it came from. Some whispered it was the next step of human evolution. Others feared it was a curse, a divine punishment, or a gift from something not of this world. What we do know is this: it changed everything. The Alice gene didn't spread with logic. It broke the rules of heredity, appearing in one child but not their siblings, skipping generations, or surfacing in people with no known connection to the gifted. And the powers it gave? Some bent fire, some vanished into thin air, some stole memories, others stopped time. But with great power came great instability. Alice's were tied to emotions, to trauma, to grief and fear. And when the heart broke, so did the mind. Children lost control. Communities fell into panic. Governments collapsed under the weight of what they couldn't understand. And as fear spread, so did manipulation. The Alice gene could be copied, amplified, even extracted. What began as evolution quickly turned into a race for control. Control of power, of people, of fate itself. This was not the birth of quirks. This was the revolution before it. A time when the world wasn't ready for what it had birthed and did everything it could to bury it. But blood remembers, and genes never die. Part 2. The Era of Alice Academy. Secrets and Sacrifice. In a world cracking under the weight of unexplainable power, humanity sought order, structure, control. And so, they built a cage and called it a school. They called it Alice Academy. To the outside world, it was a sanctuary, a place where gifted children could be nurtured, where the misunderstood could be guided. But inside those gates, inside those sterile walls, it was anything but safe. At Alice Academy, your worth was assigned at birth, not by kindness or will, but by the danger you posed to the world. Dangerous, special, technical, latent. They weren't just ranks. They were cages. And you? You were the test subject inside. Dorms weren't homes, they were holding cells. Friendships weren't encouraged, they were monitored. Love, forbiddance, emotion, a liability. Step out of line and punishment came swiftly. A limiter strapped to your body, your rank stripped, your privileges revoked. The goal wasn't to help these children. It was to tame them, to break them, to mold them into something useful. You see, Alice Academy wasn't a place of learning, it was a factory. It didn't raise heroes. It manufactured weapons. And yet, even in that darkness, some kids held onto their light. They laughed in secret, cried where no one could hear, held hands when the cameras weren't looking, and dared to dream of freedom. Because they weren't just students, they were survivors. Part 3. The Singularity Crisis. The day the world forgot. At first, it was evolution. Then it became escalation. As Alice users loved, lived, and passed down their powers, the world began to change. The abilities once rare and chaotic became stronger, more layered, more instinctive. Children were born with powers even they couldn't comprehend. Time distortion, reality bending, memory erasure. And then it happened, the singularity. We don't know who caused it. A child with a time-based Alice? A grief-stricken curse wielder? Or a desperate survivor trying to undo it all? But we do know this: history shattered, time collapsed on itself. Memories rewrote themselves. Entire cities vanished without a trace. War broke out between Alices and the world that feared them. What came next? Silence. No records. No footage. Only fragments. Whispers. Stories passed down like ghost stories around a dying fire. The world forgot not because it chose to, but because someone made it forget. The Alice gene didn't vanish. It went underground. Its bearers swore oaths, took new names, hid their children. An Alice Academy? Gone. Maybe destroyed. Maybe transformed. But here's the truth. You can bury memory, you can silence history, but you can't kill a gene. And when the time was right, when the world had forgotten enough to feel safe again, the powers came back, not as Alice's, but as something new, something the world could accept, Quirks. But this wasn't a beginning, it was a return. Part 4. The Rise of Quirks. The Return of Forgotten Souls. It didn't begin with Quirks. Long before society adapted, long before heroes filled the skies and villains haunted the shadows, there was power. Ancient, raw, misunderstood. They called it the Alice gene. History was rewritten, and in the silence that followed, that power slept. But you can't suppress destiny forever. Generations passed. Cities rose. The past was buried beneath progress. And then children began to change again. Not with whispers of Alice's, but with something else. Quirks. Gifts that appeared at age 4, triggered by fear, hope, emotion. Just like before. Society, this time, welcomed them. Categorized them. Celebrated them. But make no mistake, this wasn't new. Teleportation became warp gates. Illusions became mental voice. Healing touched flesh once again. Invisibility wore a uniform. These powers weren't born in this era, they were refined echoes. You're not watching evolution, you're watching resurrection. But not everything that returned was just in the blood. Some things came back in the soul. The Alice era ended too violently, too suddenly. Stories left unfinished, hearts shattered, bonds severed, and when souls ache that deeply, they return. Kanami Ibaragi twisted, brilliant, and obsessed with control. Now reborn as All for One, the master thief of Quirks. Mikan's healing hands. Now recovery girl, still patching wounds with the same tenderness. Luca, the gentle animal whisperer. Now Koji Koda, whose quiet voice speaks to beasts. Misaki, the trickster of the mind. Now Shinzu, bending will through sound. And Yuka Azumi, the invisible girl who longed to be seen. She walks among us again, as Toru Hagakure. This is more than coincidence. This is karmic correction. The Alice era never ended, it reincarnated. And at the center of it, all one power stands unmatched, a quirk with no known origin. It amplifies, it transfers, it grows stronger with every soul it touches. This isn't a mutation, this is Alice fusion. Two Alices amplify and transfer, merged by tragedy, forged by love, passed down by will, until it reached him. Izuku Midoriya, the boy born powerless, because his soul had already held power once before. He is not just a successor, he is a vessel for the final, perfected Alice. And his journey? It's not about becoming a hero. It's about completing a story that began long, long ago, when Alices ruled the world. Part 5. Reincarnation, Rebirth, and Legacy. What if souls never truly vanish? What if power remembers? Some Alices were never meant to disappear. They weren't erased. They were reborn. Kanami Ibaragi, the one who could steal and hoard power. His ambition, his hunger, echoes in the darkness of All for One. Yuka Azumi, the girl who disappeared from sight, but never from heart. Her Alice lives on in Toru Hagakure, the invisible girl born in a world ready to accept what once was feared. Mikan, the gentle healer. Mikan, the gentle healer. Her touch soothed pain in the Alice era. Now, she guides a new generation through Recovery Girl's quirk different name, same soul. Luca, who once spoke with animals like old friends. He returns as Koji Koda, quiet but kind, speaking through his heart to the creatures around him. And Misaki Harada, master of illusion and trickery. She walks again in Shinzu, whose voice bends the will of others, not with malice, but a wish to belong. These aren't coincidences. They are spiritual successors. In this theory, reincarnation is real. Because when a story is unfinished, when pain still lingers in the bloodline of history, souls come back to try again. And at the center of it all, one for all. The ultimate Alice fusion, two powers that shouldn't exist together. Amplify, transfer. In the Alice age, those were separate Alices, rare, powerful, dangerous, but someone, somewhere, fused them. Through blood, through time, through sacrifice. And so the torch was passed, refined, protected, strengthened, until it reached him. Izuku Midoriya. The world calls him the successor of All Might. But in truth, he is the last living echo of the Alice era. The final proof that power, like memory, never truly fades. It just finds a new form, a new vessel, and a new hero. Part 6. From Ashes to Icons. They called it progress, a new age, a brighter world built on justice and heroism. But what if I told you, this peace wasn't born from ideals alone. It was forged in silence. Long before All Might smiled for the cameras, long before UA High stood as a symbol of hope, there was another academy, another system, another era. Alice users, once feared, hidden, and erased, lived through a world that couldn't understand them. Their powers were unstable, their hearts fragile, their souls watched, caged, rewritten. And when it all collapsed in the singularity crisis, the world chose to forget. But forgetting doesn't mean healing, because look closer, hero rankings echo the classification of Alice's, support gear, a modern mimic of equipment once used to control the uncontrollable, quirk laws, refined versions of old chains made legal. Even UA High, what if its foundations were literal, built atop the ruins of Alice Labs? What if those underground tunnels weren't just for training, but containment? What if somewhere in the shadows, a secret order still exists, watching, manipulating, making sure no child ever awakens too much? We celebrate heroes, but we never ask what it costs to build them. So ask yourself, is this a new dawn or the continuation of a forgotten past? Because the world didn't evolve, it repackaged. And beneath the smiles, beneath the rankings, beneath the symbol of peace, the truth still sleeps, waiting. Two eras, one bloodline. This isn't just history, it's inheritance. The world thinks quirks began one day, like magic, like evolution, like destiny. But the truth, quirks didn't appear out of nowhere. They resurfaced. They remembered, because long before heroes soared across cityscapes, long before villains declared war in the streets, there were Alices, children torn from homes, trained in secrecy, abilities born of trauma, love, and fate, power so raw it bent time, it erased memory, it broke the world. And when that world couldn't handle them, it buried them. Not just the people, not just the places, but the very word Alice. Erased from textbooks, scrubbed from science, swallowed by the silence of generations. But blood remembers what memory forgets. Look at the echoes, power-stealing tyrants, gentle healers, voices that command, bodies that vanish. They aren't copies, they're reincarnations. Souls reborn not by chance, but by necessity, all for one. Shinzu, Toru, Koda, Deku. Each one is a thread in a tapestry that stretches back to a world the rest of us lost. and one for all? That's not a quirk. It's an inheritance. The last surviving fusion of two Alices. A power born to be passed on. Not for domination, but redemption. So now ask yourself, what if the age of heroes is in our future? What if it's our second chance? A chance to do what the Alice era couldn't, to protect without fear, to guide without chains, to raise power with love, not surveillance. Two eras. One bloodline, Alices were the origin, quirks are the legacy. And heroes? They're the proof that maybe this time the world got it right. So, what if the world never evolved? What if it just remembered? From the ashes of Alice to the icons of My Hero Academia, two eras, one bloodline, and a history rewritten to protect the future. This has been Luck of All Trades, where the bizarre meets the brilliant, and theories go where logic fears to tread. If this unraveling of forgotten timelines and reincarnated souls stirred your curiosity, hit that like button. Subscribe for more cross-universe deep dives, and drop your wildest theory in the comments. Because in this multiverse of anime madness, every power has a past, every era has echoes, and we're just getting started. Stay curious, stay bold, catch you in the next reality.